Did you catch the score on the All Blacks game? I forgot to watch it.
The All Blacks were playing?
I think so.
No, what did you do Saturday night?
You watched a movie?
Man, I had my rerun of Friends, had 4 different types of curry laid out, garlic naan, everything was popping, man.
Sounds like an evening, matey.
Rightio, Walker, we gone hard and fast. First up, we have Joseph Parker.
Yeah, mate.
Now, you need to break this down for me because I thought he was fighting Anthony Joshua.
Right, okay. Now, here's the thing, because it's a little bit complicated. You might have to bear with me for a second on this. He's not fighting Anthony Joshua. He is fighting a fella called Andy Ruiz, probably in Auckland. They haven't officially announced the stuff yet. But the thing is, right, because this was the deal. He was supposed to be fighting. You know, he beat Carlos Takam going back when he got that mandatory challenger status to face Anthony Joshua. But then something weird happened, because look, it was all lining up with Joshua Parker probably by the end of the year, start of next year. But then Tyson Fury lost his belts.
Oh.
And when Tyson Fury lost his belts, not only did Joseph Parker at that point happen to be the mandatory challenger for the IBF, which Anthony Joshua holds, but Joseph Parker was also the mandatory challenger, well, not the mandatory challenger, but the top ranked challenger for a different bout. And he's decided that instead he's going to fight Ruiz for that bout. And the reason this happened is because Anthony Joshua, once he got all these other options, Fury's not fighting Klitschko anymore, meant Klitschko was free. So Joshua's like, well, actually, maybe I'll just fight Klitschko instead. So he says that. Then Klitschko decides maybe he doesn't want to fight Joshua. He might want to fight for a different bout in Germany where he can fight, you know, where he's based out or where he prefers to fight. And Joseph Parker's already moved on to someone else now, Ruiz. Klitschko's probably moving on to that Lucas Brown muppet out of Aussie who shouldn't really be allowed to fight, but that's a different reason. And then Joshua's left with the scraps. He was the dude who had all the bargaining power at the start, and now he's the dude that's left over with nothing else. What do you reckon of that?
I'm bloody confused, mate.
That's boxing, mate. That's boxing for you.
You taking Parker fighting Mr. Ruiz in Aotearoa or outside Aotearoa?
What do you mean? I expect he will. And I expect he'll fight in Auckland. I don't know where he's going to... They talked Eden Park, didn't they? That'll be interesting, to say the least.
You'd be hoping for sunshine, wouldn't you?
You would. You definitely would. Summer's night, you know.
You can't pull the roof over the top. You can't bring the old brollies out. You can't do much.
Might have to roll out the covers if it rains, hey? Do you have a problem with the fact that they might get taxpayer money for it?
Well, it just seems a bit silly. Like, clearly they're making a fair bit of dosh if they can fork out $1,000 reward.
Yeah, well...
Big money.
Yeah, I don't think they need it, but at the same time, I fully assume my taxpayer money is not going to anything relevant, so I'd rather it go to something I'm actually going to enjoy, so whatever.
Well, either politicians waste it or Duco waste it.
Or it's paying it's paying for someone's house, isn't it? Number 2 on the agenda. Who's had the more frustrating start to their season? The New Zealand Breakers or the Wellington Phoenix?
Well, it's a weird situation we're in. Because
3 losses on the trot for each of them.
The Knicks are 0-3, the Breakers are 1-3. You got to go with the Knicks though, because they just can't do anything really.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Breakers have been... Look, the thing with the Breakers is that you can tell these are guys we know are better than what they're doing. Kirk Penny should be scoring better. Corey Webster should be scoring better. There's a bit of a thing about how well they play together. That's an issue we might want to pay attention to. But they've also been very close, and the margins for error in basketball are fairly slim. Whereas the Phoenix, okay, they've been close in their games as well, but at the same time, look, it's just... And this is why the Phoenix have been more frustrating. It's the same old problems, not putting away their goals, whereas the Breakers, it's something that's slightly out of character. So
you can kind of put the Breakers down to a new team trying to establish
new
themselves.
Coach, few new players.
Whereas the Phoenix, it's each week this season has been a bit of a sense of deja vu, and that's going back to last season because it's dominating possession, dominating total passes, looking pretty cute and romantic, trickling around the edge of the box and stuff like that. You
just got to get that ball in the net somehow.
Not a whole lot of oomph from the Knicks. My question to you is on the Breakers and Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Who has been a better signing so far, early doors? Gooey Finkler, Mr. Finkler,
Professor Fink,
Akeel Mitchell for the Breakers. Who are you liking more?
Well, I haven't come up with a good nickname for Akeel Mitchell yet. I need to get onto that one, but he is the guy. 20 points in the Breakers' last game.
Woo.
He was their best performer. Got him a 3 fast break report MVP points. That was, good on him. Good on him. At the start, he didn't look like he was going to be able to score too well. He had a couple missed layups in his first game. He fluffed a dunk as well. But since then, he's come out firing. He's just a couple meters from the hoop. He's been solid, which is more than you can say about Gui Finkler. Say 20 meters from the goal where he was supposed to be the superstar free kick taker, and we've not seen that yet.
How has Gui Finkler done anything for you so far?
No. To be honest, I want to see him swapped with Rolly. I want to see Finkler play deeper and Rolly playing forward, because I think Rolly's got that shot on him, man. You want to, if you're so one-dimensional that you in how you expect to score, which is through ball in behind. Oh no, offside flag, can't count that one. I would like to see them have that other option of just, Rolly's 15 meters out from the box.
Bang it.
Bang. Kapow.
We've also got Benji Marshall making a move to the Broncos. Now, from a Dragons perspective, how are you feeling about saying sayonara to Benji Marshall? It was a weird relationship joining the Dragons from the Auckland Blues, playing halfback after spending a whole lot of time at second receiver for the Tigers. Before I give you the full lowdown on how Benji's going to fit into the Broncos, hard and fast, how are you feeling about Benji's time at the Dragons and saying farewell to?
Well, to be honest, I was very prepared for it. It wasn't an out of the blue situation. He's not the only one as well that got that same treatment. But the fact that Benji handled it so well, that second to last game, he was like, "Yeah, look, drop me. It's all good. You guys got to prepare for next season. I'll have that farewell game because you guys are nice enough to give that to me. But you don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. It's just business, mate." And he put out a nice message the other day on Instagram. It was just time. You don't always see that in sports, where a club and a player part at the right time for each of them.
And I thought he did pen that Instagram note to you.
Me personally?
To you personally.
I read it as if he wrote it personally to me, so that's fair enough. So how's he fitting into the Broncos? Because this is slightly odd.
It is weird because you've got Ben Hunt, Anthony Milford in the halves. You've got Darius Boyd doing a job at fullback. You've got Cody Nikorima coming off the bench as a bench utility. I did read somewhere that Benji Marshall could play centre, but even then you've got James Roberts, you've got Tom Apochik, you've got Jordan Kahu, who are all better centres than Benji Marshall will ever be.
Don't you have to be able to tackle to play centres?
Well, apparently.
To be fair, he does defend there a bit. Well, he does. Look at me speaking about him in the present tense. He used to defend there a bit for the Dragons because they had to slide him over to shield him.
Well, every half defends out further than their usual spot inside the back rower, but given how much money he's going to be on, I think it's a 1-year deal for $100K. I think Uncle Wayne Bennett has just brought Benji in to put a little bit of pressure on Ben Hunt, who hasn't been playing so good for the Broncos recently.
Yeah.
So at least if Benji Marshall's there doing a good job in reserve grade, there is pressure on Ben Hunt, because last season Anthony Milford and Ben Hunt are starting in the halves every single week, and you could get a bit complacent, bit comfortable there.
Yeah, I could.
But I also think Benji Marshall's going to offer a whole lot of wisdom, a whole lot of experience, and just being around the group.
Yeah.
And I would also like to point out that Benji Marshall gives the Broncos a fairly hefty Kiwi contingent. Adam Blair, Alex Glenn, Jordan Kahu, Cody Nikorima as well.
That's true.
Probably rivaling the Storm in terms of quality. But then also in a Māori aspect, Benji, Adam Blair, Alex Glenn, Cody Nikorima, Jordan Kahu, all Māori, they rival the Panthers.
Hey.
You got Tamaida Martin, Dean Whare, Peter Hiku, James Fisher-Harris, Sam McKendry, whole gang of them at Penrith as well. But all in all, Benji Marshall to the Broncos. Broncos aren't spending any money. Just a little slither of their salary cap. Benji Marshall probably happy enough to cruise under Uncle Wayne, play some reserve grade footy, help out at training. No dramas.
Uncle Wayne, another one that left the Dragons. Well, shall we slide this one along to option number 4 then? Can anyone beat the Golden State Warriors in the upcoming NBA season?
Well, it's exciting times because we've got a team of just superstars coming together, and then you've got a pack of kind of like teams that the casual basketball fan's going to warm to because they're the underdog in some sort of sense,
AKA every other team.
Yeah, except for the Cavs because
they've just
LeBron's never going to be an underdog.
No. And he proved that when he beat the Warriors. We're going to, in years in the future, we're going to remember how unbelievable he was in that NBA Finals last time out. Insane stuff, insane numbers, insane performance. That's the thing. He put up these crazy numbers, but then you watch it with your eyes on tally. He's even better just to the eye, seeing what he did, and of course that legendary block he came up with. But this is a 73-win team. This Golden State Warriors last year. They broke the all-time record for the most wins in a regular season. They've just added Kevin Durant to that, who is an MVP and a multiple scoring champion. That's unprecedented. It's unprecedented, and I guess look, everyone else is out to get them now. It's kind of funny because they started off as this team that was they hadn't done anything for a long time. I don't think they'd won a title since I haven't checked the history books here, but I think it went back to about the 70s or something like that. They needed a bit of something. They found the Splash Brothers, but then they were just these sort of up and comers who could shoot these great 3-point shooters, but were they durable enough? Could they actually lead a team to something? And then eventually they got there, and then they were this, they won it, everyone loved them, they were this superstar team, but they were also this humble sort of family atmosphere team. And now a couple years down the track, they're the bad guys. It's crazy how things change, isn't it?
The old narrative changes, and the good guy, Steven Adams.
Well, that's the thing, Russell Westbrook used to be this dude. Is he holding Kevin Durant back? Obviously the answer was always no, but that didn't stop people saying that. Now, he's gone from being this super intense guy. He's not necessarily the guy you would look to warm to as an individual. If you were playing against him, that is. If you're supporting him, he's your number one guy. Now he's the guy who's been ripped off because his best mates skidded off across to a different state, and he's left him behind. And Russ has got this army of sort of wounded warriors now, warriors, whatever. But these guys, and Steven Adams is number one amongst them. I would argue and then he's got obviously a dude like Oladipo's joining them. Enes Kanter.
And we did get a little taste in the playoffs last season.
Well, they knocked him out.
Well, of what Steven Adams can do besides up to that point we kind of thought he was just kind of like a rebounder, like a grizzly dude and down low.
Yeah.
But then here he is throwing passes, the Benji Marshall flick pass, the equivalent of.
Exactly.
On the biggest NBA stage.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of opened up a bit of scope for what Steven Adams could do in tandem with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I'm so pumped. Russell Westbrook on a revenge mission. Steven Adams going there with him as his number one guy. I cannot wait.
Shout out to the doco, Steven Adams. How's Dirk looking?
Old. But that's okay because I will never stop loving him.
Never stop loving you, Dirk. Never stop loving you.
Never stop. Okay, Razzle Dazzle coming in hot right now, Doc. Lead us off, will you?
Well, it's coming on the back of our frustrating Wellington Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to last season, shout out to the A-League website because Opta Joe gave me this one.
Bang.
The Wellington Phoenix have not scored with their last 40 goal attempts.
That's a lot of shots to not score a goal off it.
It is, and especially when the Wellington Phoenix are dominating possession most games, and they are dominating total passes, passing accuracy, all those sorts of stats.
The stuff that's supposed to lead to shots, which is supposed to lead to goals, yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to scoring their goals, 40 goal attempts, 40 no goals. If that makes sense to you.
It makes sense. Count to 40, that's how many shots they didn't score from in a row. It's like watching Zlatan Ibrahimovic play at the moment.
I mean, if you give me 40 shots on goal, I'm banging at least 30 of them in.
Well, if all four... I'm going to blow the same trumpet here. If all 40 of those shots were coming from Rolly Bonavacia on the edge of the box, 5 of them at least are hitting that top corner, just quietly.
20 of them are making the goalie make a save.
At least, yeah. And maybe the last 15 are ending up 15 rows back in the crowd, but... Hey, mate, you got to play the percentages.
You do. You got to fire those shots off. What do you got?
Well, you didn't quite dazzle me, but you definitely razzled me with that one. Now I'm going to dazzle you with this one. Picture the new stadium that West Ham are playing in the Premier League. They've got their brand new London stadiums where the Olympics
were.
It's
fancy.
rather large. From what I understand, it's got a bit of an echo. It's quite open, very vast,
packed full of geezers.
Not quite the Upton Park that they used to have, where those said geezers were spilling over into the field. Like you probably reach out and steal the ball.
Oh, geezer!
Geezer. Now picture that. Picture a team struggling in that to come to terms with a new atmosphere there. Ooh. Picture a team playing the bottom team. Ooh. A team in Sunderland who, were they not to win this game, spoiler alert, they didn't, would become the first team in about 100 years to not win their opening 9 games, I think it is, of the top flight season in back-to-back seasons.
That's a bummer.
Something like that. Yeah, they're not doing too well. Old Davy Moyes has got a bit of a job on his hands. But
that old geezer.
Speaking of geezers, right? You've got that situation. You've got this team, West Ham, pressing for a winner. Pressing, absolutely going for it. They've got a corner. 94th minute, deep into the injury time here. The last few seconds of the game, they take the corner short. Dimitri Payet's got it, sort of on the edge of the box. He's defender comes across, throws a little step over, tries to jink and jive a little bit as he always does. Defenders think he's going to cut inside, so they kind of block him off. He squares the ball to the edge of the box. Edge of the box, up pops this fella wearing a number 2 on the back of his jersey. It says Reed there.
Oh, I like that bloke. I like that bloke.
He takes a look up. He stops. Does a little like drop of the shoulder, cuts the ball behind his standing leg, turns left foot, edge of the box, fires it low along the ground into the bottom corner. West Ham win it in the last minute. Everyone goes crazy. The stadium suddenly it's home, all thanks to Winston Reid, who by the way scored the last goal at Upton Park as well, which was also a late winner. Too. That guy, mate, he's one for the occasion, isn't he?
You sound pretty excited, like you're going to make a slushy with your slush maker. I'm surprised Winnie Reid didn't run to the corner flag and just give it the old to Mickey.
I would have liked it. Not the old Cahill box in the corner flag, but did you see what he actually did? He gave it a bit of the Gareth Bale, one of these things.
Yeah, that's
blow a few kisses to the crowd.
That's pretty.
His wife gave birth to twins in between seasons, so he's got reason to. But
it's cute, Winnie. But
it is.
Mate, you're a bro. You just give it the.
I would have expected a little Pukana to the corner flag. Something.
Just a cowabunga.
Just a cowabunga, dude, would have been lovely.
Come on, Winnie. You're the man, but you're just not bro enough. You're not
sort
chur.
It out, son.
Give it the old chur.
Next time he scores a last-minute winner. I mean, he's making a regular thing of it, so I'm sure he's watching.
If you don't mind, Wildcard, let's take a reading. Bow your heads.
Stage is yours.
This one is coming from Notorious B.I.G. Everyday Struggle. Just a couple of bars from the Biggie Smalls. I'm seeing body after body, and the Mayor Giuliani ain't trying to see no black man. Turner John Gotti. My daughter use a potty, so she older now. Educated street knowledge. I'm a molder now. Just a bit of Biggie Smalls. Set
Lovely.
The tone. Obviously, a few themes that still apply today.
Many.
Using the potty is always handy.
Still an everyday act in
street
2016.
Knowledge and just moulding your children. Wu-Tang's for the children. Biggie Smalls is for the children.
Lovely.
What are you listening to?
What have I been listening to? Well, mate, I've been listening to a couple of things, but what I decided to single out this week is Slater Kinney's album, Dig Me Out, from, I think it's 96, 97, something like that. Probably my favourite 90s rock album. I happened to be listening to it the other day while I was working out, and it's just, mate, it's quality, because it's definitely my favourite album of theirs, and they're one of my favourite bands, Slater Kinney, so I think it's a bit of a sort of hairpin album in their career, because it sort of blends the early kind of feminist punk leanings they had with the later days sort of more stadium rocky type stuff, and I think it also just cleanly their best batch of songs. What have you been listening to?
Well, the Vertical podcast.
Watch.
Courtesy of old Adrian Wojciechowski. He had Jerry West on, the legend.
Jerry West.
So just learning
a bit
about his history.
His history is basketball history.
Yeah, dealing with the death of his brother, and then the Lakers stuff, and then you've got I think he's working with the Warriors now.
Yeah, he is.
So recruiting Kevin Durant to the Warriors was very interesting. It's just always good to hear just an experienced campaigner drop a knowledge. It's always the opportunity, and just hearing little tales from the olden days and all of that sort of stuff, and just hearing how such a old geezer still finds a way to be relevant in the NBA today, and dealing with the changes in society, the changes in the athletes, and so on.
Changes in the game.
Well,
if we can slide on into what I've been reading, that actually kind of ties in with that, because what I've been reading recently is just a whole bunch of NBA preview stuff, and specifically The work of, the best in the business is Zach Lowe. Been having a gaze through some of his stuff, some of his...
a geezer.
Jesus, it's a bit of a catchphrase, isn't it? A little bit annoyed that he didn't pick the Mavs to make the playoffs in one of his prediction things, but he's a champ, so I'll let that one slide. Because, look, if I got upset at everyone who counted Dirk Nowitzki out, I'd have a long list, and you know what? I don't need to get upset about it, because every year just Dirk settles them out. Dirk finds a way. Dirk and Rick Carlisle, they find a way.
Dirk and Rick, the dynamic duo.
Yeah. Well,
I am reading, my interview with Kenny Bromwich.
I read that one too. That was quality.
It's on the Niche Cage pages.
Great dude,
Kenny Bromwich from Manurewa, Melbourne Storm. Sent him a few questions. Yes. He was kind enough to answer. And
what a legend.
Got a bit of knowledge. He enjoys playing through the middle. Because he did feature heavily this season playing through the middle for the Melbourne Storm, coming off the bench. So it's interesting to get his thoughts on that. Just coming off the bench to maintain the level of the starters, using his footwork and skill to have an impact through the middle. And also he went off to Queenstown after the season ended.
Not bad.
That was nice. And he is friends with Sitaleki Akaola, who plays for the Penrith Panthers, and Peter Hiku, also plays for the Penrith Panthers. They are Manurewa Marlins homeboys. So
they go way back, don't they?
They do indeed.
Not bad.
So have a geezer at that one if you're a real geezer and you like old Kenny Broms.
What have you... Well, I guess it's my turn, isn't it? What I've been watching is the show Black Mirror. Have you heard of it?
No.
You haven't? It's you might hear of it soon because it's kind of in the news at the moment. It's a British series, but it's now on Netflix. The third season just came out. I haven't watched the new season yet, but I've watched the second season, and it's cool stuff. Like, every episode is sort of 45 minutes long. Short seasons. The first two seasons were only 3 episodes each, and they're self-contained things, so it's a new story every time. New characters, new actors, all that stuff. Each episode is like a conceptual story about humans and technology, and it gets a little bit dark. It gets a little bit sort of psychological, but Twilight Zone-y. It's really good. I very much enjoyed it. And also, while I'm speaking of what I'm watching, I also feel it is a necessity that I point out that Atlanta just gets better every single week.
As you've been telling me.
Every week, mate. It's just the next... The last one I've watched was the club episode, and there was a joke at the end of it that was so funny. I haven't laughed at like a TV show like that for maybe ever. Maybe?
Shout out to old Donnie Glover.
He's doing it right. You know, he's going to play Gambino. Lando Calrissian in the new Star Wars spin-off thingy, the young Han Solo, the Adventures of Young Han Solo, or whatever they're calling it. He's going to be Lando Calrissian, who's widely known as the coolest guy in Star Wars because he was the one black character. Really well cast. That's such a good bit of casting.
I've been watching GQ did a Kendrick Lamar meeting Rick Rubin.
Yes, I wanted to see that. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. It's kind of Rick Rubin asking Kendrick Lamar a whole lot of questions, obviously music related, but then just about the creative process and stuff like that. And it's very interesting to hear how the jazz influence in Kendrick Lamar's music kind of happened organically. It was old Terrace Martin who kind of pointed out that there's a lot of jazz elements in samples and stuff like that that Lamar was picking and choosing.
His last album, Terrace Martin, has a like 10-minute instrumental version of Mortal Man, which is the closer on To Pimp a Butterfly. It's so good. Yeah,
but it was like Kendrick Lamar didn't intentionally choose a lot of those jazz elements. He was just picking samples and picking bits of music that had traces of jazz, and then Terrace Martin pointed that out to him. So it's just weird to see how that manifested. And just learning how Kendrick Lamar listened to a lot of Eminem, and then just wondering how the Eminem kind of put sentences together, but kept them concise, kept them to the point, kept telling stories and all that sort of stuff. It's quite obviously when you get someone of Kendrick Lamar's ilk, along with Rick Rubin,
who's no slouch himself, one of the icons.
Yeah, you're going to get some pretty good just tidbits of musical wisdom. So that was definitely something that captured my eye. And learning about meditation as well, taking a bit of time out from the day. Obviously Rick Rubin loves his meditation in Malibu. Kendrick Lamar,
probably an easy place to meditate.
It would be indeed. And Lamar's kind of implemented that because this was very interesting what Kendrick Lamar said. Like, when you're recording an album, 4 months to record an album, that's half the year gone. So you kind of get caught up in that.
Gone, but yeah,
you kind of get caught up in that cycle, and then you're on tour, and so it's like suddenly 5 years have gone past, and it doesn't really feel like you've done a lot. So Kendrick Lamar just turned to meditation, to stay in the moment, to relax.
Yeah, not bad.
Capture his thoughts together. So have a watch. I'll watch the next episode of Atlanta, and you can watch that.
Sounds like a plan.
Otherwise, we'll have to meet for some Friends reruns and some curry.
Yeah, well, we could do a bit of. When's the next All Blacks test?
No,
that's sorted, mate.
They're going on tour, so you bring the Simpsons DVDs, I'll bring the Friends DVDs, and you bring the Chinese, I'll bring the Indian, and we'll have a good time.
Lock it in, mate.